Hey everyone, and welcome to the Alba Method. So this session is a quick intro to hip mobility and stabilization. This is a great session to come to before or after a workout, at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, or if you just need some quick movement. Today you're just going to need your body and your mat. When you're ready, I'll meet you there. Okay, today we're going to start on our back. So go ahead and lay down and pull your knees into your chest. So for these hip mobility exercises on our back, you have the option to keep your left foot underneath the knee, or you can always take the left leg long. The advantage and the benefit for keeping your left foot underneath the knee is it helps to help just keep the pelvis a little bit more stable, but you can try and see what works for you. Eventually we'll want both legs straight. So you're going to start by pulling this right knee into the chest. Now the arms are going to be passive, but we also want to keep this left hand on the left hip and the right hand on the right hip when we do the right side, so that we're able to just bring some awareness and try to keep this side as stable as we can while we're isolating the movement right through the hip. So you're going to keep this right foot flexed. Now, if the leg is straight, you want to keep the left foot flexed. If the knee is bent, you want to keep the left foot active. Wherever you are, find this shape, find this stance, and find this neutral position. The low back is going to come off the mat a little bit. That's okay, but we want to keep the core as strong as we can. So bring that left hand to the left hip just for support, keeping this right upper thigh pulling to the belly. So we're going to try to keep this right foot as close to the left leg as possible. You're just going to open that knee like tree. Want to keep this left glute strong. From here, you're going to spin that leg. So you're going to start to extend that right leg all the way down so the right leg comes straight while slowly rotating the hip in the socket. Now the toes point towards the sky. And then we come back to that starting position. So part 1. Part 2 is opening the knee. Part 3 is straightening the leg and spinning that hip. And then the end position is where we start again. So we're going to do this nice and slow, really creating each piece to the puzzle, and you'll feel some popping, you'll feel some stickiness. As long as it's not sharp or shooting, we want to try to move through that stickiness, freeing up some space in that hip socket. So again, creating each piece to the puzzle. And again, this will start to feel more rhythmic the more you do it. I recommend doing this every day, to be honest, especially if you have super tight hips and you've never done stuff like this before. Good, let's find one more in this direction. So knee to chest, knee opens, all the while keeping that left leg strong. And now come back to that starting position. Now we're going to switch directions. So starting with step 1, you're going to extend that heel so the leg is straight, the toes point to the sky. You're going to spin the toes away from you. As you do that, you're going to start to take the leg out. Right where you get to where the heel is in line with the knee, you're going to start to bend that knee and pull it into the chest. Again, not letting this left leg move too much or go with you. So extending that heel, spinning the toes, taking that leg out to the side as much as you can without keeping the leg straight. Pull that knee into the chest. Do that again. Extending that heel, spin the toes. Take that leg out to the side and then get to that point where you bend the knee and pull the knee into the chest. So we're just creating that range of motion through the hip. 2 more times. Nice and slow. And then pull that knee in and release your right foot to the mat or extend it down, and notice the difference between your right and your left hip. Taking a breath and then setting up for the other side. You're going to take your right hand to your right hip, pull your left knee in. And again, you can have your right foot planted and create this same motion. Or you can have the right leg straight. It's your call. So pulling that left knee in, take that right hand to the right hip. We don't want to let this knee go out too far out. We don't want to find too much freedom. We want to isolate and control the movement. So pull the right knee in. That's our starting position. Opening the knee like tree. Spinning that leg all the way down and then coming back to center. Again, knee pulls in. Opens to the side. Keep that as you start to extend that heel towards the right foot and then come back to center. Again, creating that full range of motion. We're just making some hip circles here. So trying to keep, again, that left foot as close to the right leg as possible. Trying not to move that right leg too much. And isolate that movement right through the hip socket. Good. 3 more times. knee to chest, opening the knee, spinning that leg all the way down. And it's going to feel different every day you do this. Good. And now come back to that starting position as you finish your last round. Knee hugs into the chest. We'll reverse that movement. So heel extends out first. Spin the toes away. And then take that leg out to the side until you get to that point where you need to pull that knee into the chest. So creating that reverse direction. And your hips are going to pop. They're going to crack. Especially if you haven't done this before. Good. 3 more times. Noticing where your limits are. Noticing where you feel some tension or sticky spots. And just being aware. Good. Last one. And then hug that knee into the chest. Pull both knees into your chest. And bring yourself up to a seat. So that's part 1. That's to create some freedom. And you'll feel a little weirdness in there. So now we're going to work on that stabilization. So I want you to take your right shin forward and your left back. So we're trying to create this 90-90 shape. And depending on your hip mobility, this might feel very weird. You might not be able to get your torso over that front hip. Eventually you will though. So we're going to set it up as best as we can. The most important thing is that we're creating this kind of L shape in both of the legs. So I'm going to track my belly button over this front knee. Now what I don't want to do is this. I don't want to fall over the leg. I want to try to go past my leg. As I go past my leg, my right knee starts to drive into the ground, and I'm driving the outer edge of my right foot into the ground. Now this left knee is going to stay back. It's not passive. There's still some activation through that back leg, but we're working on the upper body tracking over this front knee. So I'm using my hands for support. You're going to drive that right knee into the ground as you shift over that right leg. And then as you come up, you're going to lift the knee, press through the outer edge of that right foot, pulling the knee up towards you. Nice slow movement. Slowly release the knee. Press the knee into the ground as you shift over that right leg. And then as you lift the chest, as you come back to center, lift the right knee up. And we'll do that 2 more times. So drive that knee into the ground, press through the outer edge of that foot, and then lift the torso, lift the inner knee up towards the chest. Stay nice and straight through that upper body. So we want to go past the leg, leading with the chest, and then lift that knee. Good. Now from here, release that right knee. Keep it where it is. I just want you to keep your arms forward. Just take your gaze over to your back knee. Make adjustments that need to be made to keep ankle and knee and hip in line with each other. Now, you're just going to look back and lift your heel up and release. Lift it up and release. And you might not be able to lift it up that high. That's okay. We want to isolate the movement. What we don't want to do is lean too far to get that leg up. We want to stay nice and straight through that upper body, isolating this movement right through the hips and those obliques. Good. And now we'll reverse that. So you're going to press through the inner edge, lift the outer knee. And again, we don't want to lean too much. We want to activate right through that leg. Right through that socket. Lifting the knee up and then pressing the knee down. 2 more. Good. Now to reverse this, we're not just going to drop out and swing our legs. You're going to take your left hand behind you. You're going to start with that left knee. You're going to start to drive it out. As you take the right knee with you, pause here. Now from here, start to drive that right knee down as you drive your left knee down, shifting over that left side, and then reset. So again, we're creating this 90-90 shape with hip, knee, and ankle. Hip, knee, ankle. Upper body, belly button tracks over that left knee. Lift the heart, take an inhale. As you exhale, drive that left knee into the ground as you shift over that left leg. And then inhale, lift the knee, press through the outer edge of the foot, pulling that knee up towards the chest, sitting up tall. Again, drive that knee into the ground. Try to go past your left leg, shift, and then lift the chest, lift that left knee, pause. Again, press the knee in as you stretch over that leg. And then lift the knee up as you come back to a neutral position. Good. One more time. Lift that knee up. Pause. And then drive that knee down. Keep the foot flexed. Look at your back foot. So again, we don't want to lean too far left. We want to stay nice and lifted. So I'm driving my inner knee into the ground. And then I'm just lifting that right heel up as much as I can. And release. Lifting it up and release. Notice that nothing is moving much through my upper body. I'm not leaning in order to overcompensate. I'm trying to isolate those little muscles. And you might feel a cramp here. You're going to shake it out. It's just your brain trying to catch up. Good. 2 more. And now we'll reverse it. So inner edges press in. You're going to lift that outer knee up and release. Again, not trying to lean too much. Try to isolate the movement and press. Controlled and stable. Good. 3 more. Last 2. And last 1. Good. And now we come back to center. Drive that outer knee and then drive that inner knee. And here we'll shift into all fours, tabletop position. Hands underneath the shoulders. So now we're going to create that same action, only adding a little bit of loaded movement. So pull the belly in, pressing through the heels and the hands. Make sure the knees are underneath your hips. So I'm going to turn so you can see my right side. From here, start to pull your right knee in, but upper thigh to belly rather than pulling your chest in and rounding through the spine. We want to keep the spine and the chest neutral. Start to lift that outer knee up. So lift the leg. Rather than leaning too far left, your leg might not go as high. Start to spin, creating that hip circle. So now my heel presses up to the sky. My thigh is parallel with the ground. Let's do that again. Nothing moves in my upper body. Just that right thigh pulls to the belly. Lift the knee out to the side. Now spin that leg. Come back to center. Nice and controlled. 3 more. Try to isolate the movement right through that hip socket. Good. And now we come back to that starting position. We switch direction. So press the heel up to the sky. Take that knee out to the side and then pull it back into your center. Take that heel up to the sky. Thigh is parallel. Spin the knee out. Pull it back into the chest. 2 more. Good. And once you finish that, release that right knee. Take your hips towards your heels and your arms forward. And just notice the difference. And then coming back to a neutral position, I'm going to switch around so you can see the left side. Hands underneath. And again, setting it up. Hands underneath the shoulders, hips over the knees. Start by pulling that left upper thigh to belly. Foot stays flexed. Lift the knee out to the side. Now spin. Spin that knee so that the thigh comes parallel and the heel stamps to the sky. And then pull that knee back into the chest. Keep the belly nice and strong as we create these hip circles now. On this left side. Everything stays stable. Nothing moves but that hip and that knee. Good. So knee to chest, lift, spin, and pull in. Good. 2 more. Don't forget to breathe and then pull that knee into your chest, belly to thigh, and then switch directions. So heel to the sky, thigh parallel. Feel that hamstring turn on. Spin the knee out and then hug it back in. Using those abductors and those adductors to create this movement. Good. Getting those core muscles involved. Last 3. Last 2. And last 1. Good. Take a moment, take a cat and cow, just to release that. And then go ahead and cross your ankles and take your butt back to the mat and extending those legs. So just notice the difference. And then from here, you're going to bend your knees and plant your feet. Using your hands for support, you're going to lift and take your right ankle on top of your left knee and let your hips come to the ground. So you may need to take your hands a little bit wider depending on your hip flexibility, and you might need to take your hips a little bit further away from your heel. But I use my hands to kind of gauge where my hips can land to feel a nice stretch. Keep that right foot flexed, spin your toes away from you, pressing ankle and knee into one another. And then we'll just lift hips and switch sides. Take that left ankle to the right knee. Slowly, don't slam your hips down. Just slowly release the hips to the ground. Spin those left toes away from you. Stand on that right foot. Just breathe. And then coming back to your center. Go ahead and bring the soles of the feet together. Bring the hands to the shins. Sit up tall as you inhale. And as you exhale, use those hands on the ankles to just kind of fold forward, finding a nice wide low back. You don't have to go down all the way. Just press the feet into one another. Press the knees out. And then go ahead and sit up. And take your feet as wide as the mat. And from here, you're just going to tick-tock those knees in and out. So keeping the feet flexed, taking one knee to the ground, letting the hip come up. And just noticing the difference. So again, this is just a quick intro to hip mobility, a great thing to come back to before or after a workout, at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, or if you just need some movement. Let's go ahead and cross the legs once you feel balanced in the body, and bring the hands to the knees and just roll out those shoulders. And gently close the eyes or find a soft gaze and just notice the difference. Take a moment to reflect and let everything absorb. And bring your hands together in front of your heart and bow your chin to your chest, always giving yourself just a little salute for showing up, for trying new movement, or for coming back to condition the body. Take this energy with you. Take this movement with you. Off your mat, into your world, touching your thumbs to your forehead. Just lift the gaze, finding some gratitude here for our bodies, for this space, for this practice. And in that gratitude, we bow. Much love. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this session. Keep coming back to it whenever you need it. We'll see you soon. Ciao.